believe that the new Dutch CFC rules will impact your organization? And again, the choice would be yes, no, because there's no Dutch holding in the group, obviously. No, for other reasons, I don't know, does not apply. So if you could make your choice, please, and let's continue with your closing words.
Simone, just to add to your question, the Netherlands list there of requirements is actually the first sort of concrete set of rules that has come out of the EU in terms of what might be expected. Admittedly, it's from a member state, but that might, to some, give an indication of direction of travel, and because there are sort of quantitative numbers in there as opposed to the more qualitative substance rules that we are looking at in the overseas jurisdictions, who are looking at adequate as opposed to 3 people or X dollars of expenditure. And so that may well colour how the discussions go forward. We've had a number of questions of people saying, how can the EU enforce this? And I think right now the EU isn't enforcing the economic substance rules that they've asked the overseas jurisdictions to implement. They've put those enforcement mechanisms into the local corporate law, that you lose your company if it doesn't comply, or that financial penalties become exorbitant. But over time, the compliance mechanism will shift towards the Union, and the Netherlands is sort of leading the charge there, and it's possible we'll see more from other member states.
Yeah. Thank you, Robert. I think another area where the Dutch where this may come relevant, and essentially the Dutch will govern the rules, or will review whether the rules are met in terms of substance, is that there's a potential that there will be an introduction of a conditional withholding tax on intercompany interest payments and royalties to low tax jurisdictions. Again, there will be, there's expected to be, at least let me put it that way, it was part of the announcements, that if you meet the substance requirements, that could serve as a safe harbor. So essentially, I think we see that if you do not meet these requirements in local jurisdictions, you can either be put on blacklist, you can be put on CFC list, you can be put on withholding tax lists, which is also a way of enforcement. I think that's basically, for the future to hold, but I think that's the trend that we're seeing.
Well, thank you very much, Simone. I think that Dutch again proves that there is a leading authority in the international tax field, and we see how things develop. So we're going to wrap it up for today. We hope that you have now a fairly good understanding of the status of the EU's Code of Conduct Group's initiatives concerning activities in the jurisdictions which are in scope here, and that this will help to make you an assessment as to what needs to be changed to adapt successfully to this new legislative framework in the future. And we hope that you're also informed about on-the-ground developments in some of the jurisdictions we covered, for example, Barbados. Everybody who asked a question for another jurisdiction or another field which we couldn't answer during the session, we will send an email to you and we'll try to answer your question as best as we can. We hope that you also now obtain some appreciation of the complexity of the OECD's principal purposes test and the important role economic substance elements will have here in the future. As a closing item, we hope that Simone provided a practical overview about the status of the Dutch CFC rules, which seem to be quite of leading importance here because of, as we know, the many Dutch holding companies which are existing in the international context. So I'd like to thank you, our audience, for joining us today. The archive of today's program will be posted on the Thought Center webcast homepage in about a week. This is also where you can view many of our webcasts. And if you have been with us for at least 50 minutes, responded to the polling questions, and if you also complete the feedback, you can now download your education certificate by clicking on the CPE icon at the bottom of this interface. We definitely pay attention to our feedback, so before you head off, please take a moment to open the red feedback icon and let us know what you thought of today's program. My name is Thomas Eckert, and I'm a member of the EY Global Tax Desk Network. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for participating in today's teleconference. You may now disconnect. Presenters, please hold for a post-conference.